To New York City, we have a live look at both headquarters, Hillary Clinton's and Donald Trump's. We start with Donald Trump's. You can see the room is packed. All the flags there behind the podium. Donald Trump expected to take the stage any minute now.
And just the contrast on the other side, that is the scene of where Hillary Clinton was slated to make an appearance tonight. What many of her supporters thought was going to be a triumphant appearance and speech. But you can see just about all of the supporters there at the Javits Convention Center there have pretty much left the scene.
All right, joining us now with some perspective on the election night returns are our political analyst, Republican Ricky Gill, Democrat Robin Swanson. Robin, as we were just taking a look there at the Javits Convention Center, one of the things that's striking is they did have a glass ceiling that they were expecting to be representative tonight of the first woman president. Obviously, people left without that being shattered.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she did shatter a glass ceiling when she got the nomination, the first woman to accept a party nomination. That's not the other is not a glass ceiling. It looks like she's going to shatter, but they decided to take a break and get their ducks in a row and figure out which way is up and come back at it in the morning. I'm not terribly surprised by that decision. This is, you know, the biggest decision she could possibly make. And you'll recall in Bush v. Gore that Gore actually conceded too soon, and then he had to recant that. And then the back and forth, I think, was worse than actually taking a moment and figuring out you know, exactly what was happening. And I do think we could see a situation where it's possible, because of a state like California, she'll have more of a popular vote than Donald Trump, and that will be something that, you know, they'll have to look at as well.
And Ricky, as we look at these scenes here from the Clinton headquarters there, we are waiting for Donald Trump to take the stage. What do you want to hear from him, and do you think he'll say what he needs to say?
Well, you know, Golston, a couple of things. If this comes to fruition and he ends up prevailing, this is a win on the order of Dewey Truman, 1948. I mean, President Truman had this come-from-behind victory. Everybody discounted him. I think you could say the same thing about Donald Trump. He was taking a lot of incoming from a lot of establishment institutions, not only Hillary Clinton's campaign, but there was a lot of internecine strife on his side. So he's really risen from the ashes. He was left for dead about a month ago, particularly after the Access Hollywood tape. He was sort of a forgotten person in this race. He was trailing by 11 points. So it is just absolutely remarkable. I think what he's going to have to do if he does win tonight is lay out some sort of agenda where he can promote healing, reconciliation, not only in this country, also more particularly within the Republican Party. It's going to be unified in all likelihood, Republican government, House, Senate, and then the White House. And ultimately, the onus is on the new president to bring people together. So he'll have to lay out a roadmap and reconcile the differences between him and Republican leaders in Congress.
Robin, of course, another big storyline tonight was the balance of power in Congress, which it appears is not going to change. The Republicans retain control of the House and the Senate. But in this district, one that was particularly vulnerable for the Democrats was Ami Bera's district, Congressional District 7. What do you make now of seeing how well Ami Bera is doing tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is California is very different than the rest of the country right now. If you look at the ballot measures that passed, there's a lot of progressive ballot measures. We still have an overwhelming majority of Democrats in our state legislature. All of our statewide offices are held by Democrats. And so California is just a very different state. And a lot of that is a testament to the work of the California Democratic Party. But I do think Ami Bera, you know, overwhelmingly held his ground here, and that was a resounding message, at least here in California. But it's going to be a very different day in Congress, because there's, you know, as a Democrat in Congress, there's not a whole lot that you can do now.
You know, and just looking back, I know this is kind of a large question here, but looking at what's happened here and what appears to be happening with Trump set to possibly win the presidency here, what do Democrats do, you know, from the state level to the national level about doing some kind of a reset? Where would you start?
I mean, I think we have to look at our bench, and we have to look at, what candidates are viable, and we have to look at, how we develop their stories to really resonate with people in Middle America, and and really understand the anger that drove the Trump vote, because that is absolutely what he tapped into, was an anger thread in America that clearly Democrats didn't see. So I think figuring that piece of it out and figuring out how we can be a part of the healing is going to be really important.
Ricky, the Republicans are not immune from the same conversation. There's been almost a civil war within Republican ranks, the folks supporting Trump and the never Trump Republicans. So how do you see the Republicans coming together?
I think it's an opportunity much like Barack Obama had in 2008, where you have the House, the Senate, and the White House all under common party leadership. So it's time to get behind policy. I've heard Republicans talk for a long time about tax reform and energy development on the domestic front and creating jobs and worker productivity. Enough with the policy papers. It's time for implementation here. What I will say is this is almost a perfect storm for Donald Trump. You had frustration with 8 years of stagnation and weakness abroad. Yep. This is a man who was trading in strength, and I guess man met the moment tonight. Okay, Ricky Gill, Robin Swanson, thank you so much for your words tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you.